Excellent. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. I'm trying to monitor that as we go. Looks like we got people from all over the place. Also some people that I know, which is awesome. Thank you for coming, everybody. Love to see your face. Make sure your mic is muted. I'm going to try to answer questions as I go. So if you do pop questions in the chat, I will pause and take a few moments to try to chat about it. And yeah, so this is the goals for today. Talk a little bit about the thinking classroom, managing flow, moments of imbalance, what you can do, what the students can do, what happens when you have imbalance in a group, little activity on what is your move. I'm going to plug spiraling again, of course. I'm going to talk about thin slicing and activity, and then maybe about how you can change from where you are to where you want to get to. There are lots of items that Peter looked at. Peter Littlehall looked at for the thinking classroom, how things to consider changing, how your room is organized, how we change them for a thinking classroom is in the green. So we defront our rooms, how we form the groups. We do that randomly. The student workspace, vertical non-permanent surfaces, the tasks we use good tasks. When we teach to all is after productive struggle, not before. Like we don't front load it, we end load it. How we give homework, don't. How we give notes, have students create their own notes, their own mindful notes, or maybe annotate a picture or something. How and when we consolidate from the bottom, narrate a story after. So think 5 practices a bit for that. How we give the task or problem, verbally, telling a story, creating a puzzle. I keep saying this to people, like they want to know, like, how do you do this day in, day out? And it's like, I think about the curriculum and how can I problematize it? How can I turn the curriculum into a puzzle? And that's what I'm trying to do every single day. The types of questions we answer only keep thinking questions. How we give hints and extensions. So managing flow, how we manage flow. So like that's really what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Student autonomy. How we build and foster student autonomy, and that goes hand in hand with managing flow. So it would be those two are the big items for tonight. And then assessment, show students where they are and where they're going, evaluate what you value, and standards-based grading. So, I'm going to obviously stay away from assessment. We could talk about assessment for days. I don't think assessment is one of those things that I think it's an ongoing problem, and it's going to be something that we work on till the end of our career, how to assess better. So yeah, one of those topics. It's like Peter says, I don't talk assessment on the first date. So this is the flow diagram. I never can remember the person's last name. It's Ivan. He's a psychologist, and he's got a book called Flow. And the idea is it's this balance between ability and challenge, and ideally, like you're in flow. So like, maybe you've experienced this playing a sport, maybe you've experienced this like knitting, maybe you've experienced this doing math problems, but like time seems to go quickly. You don't realize how long you've been spending on it. You're completely immersed in it. And like, that's the goal every day in our classrooms, right? To try to do that. So yeah, I think someone's put the link in there. Oh, Katina, thank you. Has put the link in there for that. And so like, it's this balance between ability and challenge. So like, you can imagine if the student's ability is way beyond their challenge, they're going to be bored. And if the challenge is way beyond their ability, they're going to experience anxiety or frustration, right? And the idea is to keep them in this flow area in the middle of the diagram, for lack of another word. Yeah. So what happens in our classroom? Like, ideally, like, it would be great if we had, like, in a thinking classroom, we have 10 groups. It would, like, we really we really are monitoring 10 different flow structures in our classrooms, right? They're not all going to be in this area. Some groups are going to end up being bored or being frustrated. So you really have 10 arrows going up and down throughout your class. At least in my group, it's 10 groups. Might be 8 or 9 on a particular day. And then even in that group, there are 3 people. And so I'll talk about this later. Sometimes one of them is frustrated and one of them is bored and one of them's in flow. So we have these moments where even within the group, we have them at different places in our diagram. And so our goal, as a teacher is to come into the room and give them a task and then increase the challenge, let them increase their ability, increase the challenge, let them increase their ability, increase the challenge, and have them continue to learn throughout the period. And so clearly that's not what always happens. We get to situations like this where the red arrow is indicating that the challenge is too high for the group's ability. So then it becomes what happens, right? What are the possibilities of things that we can do as teachers to get them back into flow? And the green arrows are indicating what we could potentially do. We could decrease the challenge or we could increase their ability. So those are things that we could do, but there's also things that students could do. So we're going to look at this. We're going to look at this particular situation in terms of what you could do as a teacher or what the students can do. So maybe I'll just give it a moment, maybe type some things in the chat. What are some things that you could do as the teacher to either decrease the challenge or increase their ability? Or what are some things that you think the students could do to help with that? And so maybe indicate whether you're talking about the teacher or the student. Or not. It's totally okay. It's just like teaching, right? Okay, giving hints. For the teacher could give hints, of course, right? So you give a hint, that's going to increase their ability. You could ask a question, good. You could give an extension problem. So giving an extension problem might increase the challenge though. As teachers, we can simplify the problem, take away an aspect. We could join the group, awesome. So join the group would increase their ability, right? Remind them to look around. So that's good. So that's something that you could do to get them to do something. Have the student try a simpler case. All excellent ideas. So I don't have all those listed in the next slide, but I have some of those, right? So I kind of students can access resources provided. Okay, so I kind of said, if the challenge is greater than their ability, what are things that the teacher might do and what are things that the student might do? So we could decrease the challenge. So you could go, oops, I gave you the wrong one. Why don't you try this one instead? You could give them a hint. I think someone suggested that. You could join their group and do some of the problem with them. So that would decrease how hard it is for them. You could increase their ability. So that's the other way to go. So if we go back to the slide, I can either decrease the challenge or increase their ability. So to increase their ability, I could join their group and make them better, hopefully. I could pair that group with a stronger group. I said, okay, why don't you 2 groups join together for a second? And there's other things that you could do as a teacher. I really liked someone said, oh, you could remind them of what they could do. You could look around to what other groups are doing, right? So what could the student do? The students could quit. They could say, I have no idea how to do this. I'm not going to do it. They could persevere in the face of challenge. So the group or individual might show some grit and stick with it and keep trying different things. Or they could seek help from other groups. So they could do that passively by looking around, or they could actually go to another group and ask them for ideas or help. And, it takes a while for kids to start doing that, but I usually find after about the 2 or 3 week mark, maybe the 4th week, it's pretty natural if a group's not sure what to do that they'll roll over to another group and get help. So mobility of knowledge and ideas and strategies. So if you think about this, the stuff that the teachers what the teacher is doing is managing flow, right? These are things that you're looking for, and you have to do it for 10 groups, of course, right? So like you do it with one group and then something else is happening with another group. It's a big juggling act, right? Because I think we have this tendency when things aren't going well with a lot of groups is that we then say, okay, everybody listen to me. And I think we need to try to not do that. I think we need to try to encourage them to find other ways to find help other than you saying, oh, here, let me explain a little bit of this to everybody. Like, I think we take away a bit of the struggle when we do that. And we take we take away some of the thinking that's potentially there by doing it for them. So if we categorize these things that we have on our list, like what the teacher is doing is managing flow. And then what the student does, there's two things that a student can do. They can either student or show autonomous behavior. And like number one, quitting is a studenting action, right? Like that's something a student will do. So, I'll see this in my class too, like other things that students will do that I call it studenting. When things are getting hard and like two people in their group know what's going on and they don't know what's going on, they'll take a washroom break. Like that's their time to go to the washroom, right? So like they'll find ways to not think. And the goal is to try to teach them to be autonomous. Like if you don't understand, ask the people in your group. If your whole group doesn't understand, go find another group. So like these are things for when the challenge is greater than ability. Any comments about that, about how I've kind of organized that? And I mean, obviously there's other strategies that you can do but you can fit them into what I think are these three categories, right? The teacher is either managing flow, or the students are showing autonomous behavior, or the students are what Peter calls studenting. Any comments or questions about that? Okay. Yeah, I mean, and you know what? That's why I put it out to people too, because I wanted to see what people said, and I think people had some great ideas, right? Like, if you go back and read some of these, like, what was the other one I really liked that I don't have written down here? The teacher can simplify the problem, like, take part of it away, right? Make the problem easier. Or can you think of another problem like this that we've done before? Like that type of hint. Try a simpler case. There it was, by Tracy. So lots of access your resources, right? Like, so you don't know what to do, go, like, do you have any mindful notes that you could look up and get some ideas from? Okay, so let's jump to the next possibility of imbalance in a particular group would be where they're bored. Their ability is higher than what the task is. So they're like, oh, this is so easy, So two things, right? You can decrease their ability, or you can increase the challenge. And so again, I'll look for people, what are some things you could do to decrease their ability or to increase the challenge? Teacher strategy here, wait time. Insert out my favorite move, Mary. Add on to the problem. Give an extension. Yes, exactly. This is where you give them more to do with it, right? Reveal more information. So more stuff to do, right? Yeah. Ask them to prove their solution. Awesome. Ask what if questions. Remove a strong member. Oh, that'll decrease their ability. Oh yeah, you know what? You're in the wrong group. You go to this one. Ask what if questions. What if? So like increase the challenge through that. Does this always work? Can you generalize the result? Awesome. Compare with another group who thinks they have this solution. Right. So that's always a good one, right? When you have two groups that are standing beside each other and they both are bored and they both have different answers. It's like, you guys have different answers. Why don't you two groups get together and figure out who's right and who's wrong? Can you try a different, yeah, could you do it a different way? So all lots of really good, come up with the next, oh, sure, create a question. Okay, you're done, you know, show some autonomous behavior and like, can you create your own question? Can you create a question that you think another group would find difficult? Like those types of things, that they could do, right? Or that you could do. So again, I probably don't have them all listed here for what all the ones we came up with, but lots of great strategies, right? So what can the teacher do? You can increase the challenge, ask a what if question, give them an extension, increase the complexity. So those are things that you could do. You could decrease their ability. You could join a strong group with a weaker group. You could join them and be super unhelpful. You could find two groups with different answers and have them find it and introduce doubt and walk away. So this is one of my favorite ones because like when you group is done really quick because their ability is really high and you have a problem at the other side of the room, like the problem at the other side of the room is probably more important than this group that's bored. And so I really do like to walk by really quickly and look at their solution and just kind of look at it and go, are you guys sure about that? Like sometimes you don't even need to say anything. You just kind of like look at them like, really? And just walk away. So clearly Mary has used that one. It was the first thing she said. And it's a great strategy to get them to go back in and go, oh, and then sure enough, in 5 or 7 minutes, they're going to say, sir, we checked this. We're positive it's right. And then you come back over and go, oh yeah, that does look good, right? You just get them back into the question. So that's a great strategy it's decreasing their ability. It's making them get back into it and get back into flow. And then, so what could the student do? The student could quit again. They could still do it and show tolerance for the mundane. So like you've given them like a whole bunch of questions that are all similar and one particular group already knows how to do them all. And they might just stick with it and do them, right? They might seek a harder question from another board. So if you're doing thin slicing and you put questions up in different colored markers on other boards, they might go seek a harder question. And they might do that passively by looking around, right? So like, you could say, oh, do the one on this board over here. These guys have one written on the board. Or maybe they just go and find it. Like, so, when you do thin slice, if you understand what that is, if you've read Peter's book or if you've heard him speak, quite often what happens is you start putting questions up on other kids' boards. And then by the time you get over to other groups that are done, they've already started working on it. And then you're like, oh, where'd you get that question from? They're like, oh, we stole it from that board over there, right? So ask a what if question to increase the challenge. Make your own harder question. Can you make a question that you think another group would find difficult? Can you go help a struggling group? And so then again, we classify these three things that happen, right, into managing flow for you, student autonomy, and studenting, right? So it's always good to think about it because it's really hard to manage the flow of every single group all the time without them learning how to be autonomous. So like you really have to encourage autonomous behavior to create flow in your classroom. So like if you can get students to self-manage their own flow, your days are going to be not quite as crazy. Now that being said, there are certain days that are just like that. You can't help it. There's just not a lot. They just don't know what to do next because it's the content or the task that you're doing is just outside their comfort zone. So you're constantly having to like be there for them. But there are strategies that they can certainly learn as the semester goes on. Any comments about this one, or anyone want to say anything? Okay. Awesome. So like, clearly I haven't hit all the cases here because when I say a group ability is greater than challenge, sometimes it's just one kid in the group, right? So I do all of this in a thinking classroom. They're always up at the whiteboards in my classroom. I've stopped giving tests. So this is it every day. Oh, that's slow to load. Yeah, thank you, Katina. I don't know why it does that. It's got to be because I'm on it. There we go. Sometimes I go back. So that's what my classroom looks like. I'm super lucky. I when I first heard Peter talk, I just put whiteboards up around the room, like just portable ones, like ones that you could just like lean against the wall. And then that summer, I like took all the crap that was in my room and removed it and put up 10 4x8 sheets of whiteboard. It's just shower board actually. But I put that up in 2014. I've been pretty relentless about keeping it clean. And so this is my 6th year of using these whiteboards, and they're still in, I'll say, okay shape. They're in okay shape. And then clearly you can see the kids working below. So like, I was like thinking about this, a function that balances flow management and student autonomy. So moments of imbalance in a thinking classroom equals the balance between, it's got to be a balance between you managing flow and them showing student autonomy. I don't, if it's up to you, if it's only up to you, I think you're going to burn out. It's going to be so hard to run a thinking classroom if it's you having to get to all 10 groups and manage their flow nonstop. So you have to find moments to teach them autonomy. So like one of the things I really like to do at about week 3 or week 4, after I'm run off my feet, because this is all new for them and they're like experiencing it and they're not sure what to make of the whole situation, is like give them a task that only lasts 20 minutes and go find a group in the corner and turn your back to all the groups and talk to a group for a little bit, and then like literally say to them, we're going to kill time here. I'm not going to turn around and look at the rest of the class. We're just going to kill time. When you see everyone sitting down on their phones, give me the nod. And, the rest of the period is talking about student autonomy, right? So then like I turn around and go, what are you doing? What are you guys doing? Are you kidding me? You're at school. We're here to learn. Like, what could you have done instead of sitting down at your desk and getting your phone out? And you start going through the different types of things that they could have done, like ask a what if question, make a question, whatever they come up with that they're going to do that's going to continue to get them to think about learning is good. So like I make a bit of a scene of the whole thing, and then I talk about it. Does anyone know what the word autonomy means? Blah, 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 blah. And like make a scene out of it. And, we'll spend 45 minutes or 30 minutes talking about student autonomy, and then out they go. And then hopefully that improves that type of behavior, and it improves as the semester goes on. You will even hear kids say it to me. You'll be coming around to their group and they'll be going, oh, look at us, we're exhibiting autonomy. I'm like, yeah, you are, right? So like, I think it's really super important, like that piece is really grown in students. So for a student, flow is engagement, right? If you can keep them in flow, they're engaged, right? And like my whole journey of changing the way I teach was for student engagement. I was so frustrated with student engagement. At one point in my career, I was literally at the point where it was like, okay, I'm either going to find a different job in education or I'm getting out. Or I'm going to just do it differently. And I'm very grateful that I chose to do it differently. So there's Peter's model for building thinking classrooms, which isn't loading. It's coming. It's not coming. Wait time. There we go. Anyhow, we've all seen this. If you're a fan of Peter's, you've seen the 14 items, and if you've read his book, yeah, Heather, no kidding, eh? So Heather's saying I got to that point before I got 5 years of teaching. So grateful. Like, so true, right? Like, I was so lucky to hear Peter speak about it, like early, right? It was, I think, in fact, he says it's the first time he actually talked about it was in Ottawa in 2014. And feel so fortunate to have been in the crowd. And he really only talked about the big three, right? Get your sledgehammer out and do vertical non-permanent surfaces, visible random groupings, and use good tasks. But I was already spiraling at that point. So I was like, oh, I already got the task thing. So now I'm going to just like get them in random groups writing on the walls. And it is a game changer, right? There's no doubt about, and yes, Michael, you did see that visually hanging in my classroom. So I talk about, as the semester goes on, I talk about the model with students. Why not, right? They need to know what I'm doing to them. I had this discussion today with kids. They were saying like, you're not telling us how to do anything. I'm really struggling. I'm like, I'm not telling you. So what do you want me to do? You want me to tell you how to do everything and you just mimic what I did, what I told you? And they're like, well, yeah, isn't that what math is? Like, no, my goal is to make you think. So don't ever expect me to show you the whole algorithm. I'm not going to do it. So, that's the way it is. So, so let me talk about this situation. So this is imbalance in a group. So imagine having a group where one kid's bored, one kid's anxious, and one kid's in flow. And I don't have the answer for this. I'm not saying I do, but I think we see this. I think you'll see this in your classroom, right? Where even within a group, people are at different places in their flow. And so, this is something to think about. Like, how do you handle these groups? You roll over to this, group. What are you going to do? That's a open door to throw something in the chat if you got an idea. Because I see this all the time. I'll see two kids bored and one kid in flow. I'll see two kids that have no idea what's going on. So Michael, move the marker or have one only write about what another one says. So those excellent strategies. The one marker strategy, except COVID, yes, isn't that the truth? Tap the kid in flow and have them bring the others up. So that's for sure. The person in flow. So like, that's a good idea, right? The person that's actually doing this stuff, have them get the person who's the challenge is too high for them, help them understand the problem. But the kid that's bored is going to be like, yeah, whatever. So like, maybe the strategy is get the bored kid to explain it to the kid who doesn't understand. Talk to them about the responsibility. Okay. Talk to the group about the responsibility of everyone understanding. So yeah, so that's something that I like to do when I walk over and I see one kid who doesn't know what's going on and two kids are actively talking about it. And I'll walk over and I'll go right up to the person who's not involved and say, can you explain what they're up to? And they'll look at me. And if they go, I have no idea what they're doing. Then I look at the other two students and go, okay, I'm going to be back in 5 or 7 minutes. Let's say Joanne. I want Joanne to know what's going on when I come back. And I might not come back, right? But it's just like, you are all responsible for all three of you to be involved here. Yeah. Always super tricky, right? And I see this all the time, I think. We talk about groups being in flow, but really it's still 3 individuals, and it's really about getting everybody in flow. Okay, here's another one that I like to use too when I'm talking about this stuff. You got 3 groups. One of them's done the problem and they're bored stiff. You got another group that's lost. One of them has been in the washroom for over 15 minutes and the other 2 are writing on each other with the marker. And then you got another group that's struggling. They're starting to show some frustration with the problem and with each other. So like, these 3 things are happening. You notice them all at the same time, simultaneously. What are you doing? What's the plan? You have to act quick. So think about that for a second. You don't need to put it, you can put something in the chat. If you think you have a good solution, you can go for it. Send group 3 to group 1. Oh, excellent. Join those two groups. What a great idea. Send a member of group 1 over to group 3. Exactly. Same idea, right? Like get the group that knows what's going on to help the group that doesn't know. Take the marker from group 2. Woo! Yeah, so like what really like group 2, right? You've kind of lost them today, haven't you? Like maybe that's the dynamics of that group. Like, and so many of us will put our energy there, right? And I'll be honest with you, which group should we be like targeting right away? Like who's the group that we really want to get to? Is it group 1 or group 3? It's group 3, right? The frustration, a lot of frustration in your class will be like, yeah, everyone's group 3, right? A lot of frustration will hurt your class. So like to buy time, I might do a Mary Barras and introduce doubt to group 1 as I'm walking by. Oh, well, you guys sure about that? Buy myself 5 minutes, go join group 3, join the group, increase their ability, decrease the task, decrease the challenge, whatever it's going to be. And group 2, honestly, for this day, like they're writing on each other, like, and we have groups that, you know, I'm not going to give up. If there's an hour to go, I might come back eventually once I feel like all the other groups are doing okay, I might come back to them, but they're not my priority. So like those types of situations, those types of decisions that you have to make as a teacher, the whole idea of managing it, that's on the fly, right? Like people don't realize how hard our job is when you think about what the types of decisions that you make in the moment in your classroom. It's quite incredible. Okay, here's my plug for spiraling, right? This is our old grade 10 applied course. Load. Okay, we just have wait time. Good. There we go. Nope, went back to the other one. There we go. This is our old grade 10 applied. I've showed this in all my presentations over the last 3 weeks. I'm a big fan of spiraling. Oh, I'm getting assessment questions. Here they come. I don't talk assessment on the first date. If you don't give tests or quizzes, how do students demonstrate independent knowledge? Just wondering what else other than observations and comments. Okay, so assignments, right? Group tests, assess them during their tasks, right? Observe them and converse with them and keep track of that. Yeah, and I'll say that the part about not giving tests, this is new for me. I did a portfolios last year and killed myself marking. I'm trying assignments this year, but the assignments are really open-ended, right? Like there's no way 2 kids are handing in the same work because I'm not asking them like factor this polynomial. I'm like, here's some stuff, demonstrate what you know about polynomials. Here's some graphs, demonstrate characteristics of functions. So it's all really open-ended stuff. They should all be handing me in completely different assignments. Do you teach I do teach 2.5-hour classes. Can you talk about the differences your experience? Yeah, so we take breaks, we go for walks. So we are like, in our class, like at about the 1.5 hour mark, I'm taking a 10-minute walk. We walk around the block, get some fresh air and come back and pick it back up where we were. It's the only way. 2.5 hours, like last year we did 4 hours, right? Or whatever it was. And it was crazy. So if, any differences? Yeah, it's definitely tougher to keep them going for that long period of time. So I am really, trying hard to not do one idea in 2.5 hours, like mix it up, do one idea, then a second idea. So hitting 2 overall expectations maybe, or more if it's a spiraled task, right? And then this is what, that's the old unit teaching. And then this is the old load. This is the old spiral teaching. I encourage you to think about breaking up your curriculum into spirals and trying to manage that. I just think it's so good for student learning for them to have to recall stuff in your course, and especially when you do this, by the end of the course, you can do such rich tasks and with lots of curriculum in them. And I would encourage you to do this. I did talk about spiraling last week. And if you go back to where you're registered, I believe the YouTube video is up and you could totally watch the video and send me any questions that you might have. Okay, so I got pretty excited about this last week, and I'm gonna like give you some time to either take out a piece of paper or you can jump on this Jamboard link if you want and do some scribbling there. I don't think I'll put you in breakout rooms because we only have a little bit of time, but you can go to if more people go to the Jamboard, it's better because you can see what people are doing. But I'm going to actually talk about managing the flow of a task. So like, I got this, I find this different than what Peter talks about with thin slicing. Peter talks about thin slicing. So like factoring quadratics, I'm going to thin slice and I'm going to increase the complexity of the quadratics that you're going to factor. Where I think I think you can thin slice the task too. Like because I spiral and I want to get all kinds of curriculum out of it, I'm going to just like throw out a task that I know will go to other curriculum, right? And so the only reason I'm really was excited about this, I'm going to actually hit the link on the Jamboard so we can go into Jamboard here. And if people are writing already, that's great. So someone played with this today. That's awesome. So like this, if you take this fraction of sequences, and so I'm going to do, this is what I would do with a task like this in my class. So like, I think of how I did Barbie Bungee before, where I had a whole sheet of instructions for them and like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then by the end of when I was teaching grade 10 applied and do Barbie Bungee, I didn't have any sheets of paper. Like I was like, okay, you need to do this. And then, okay, now you need to do this. Like I thin slice the task as well. So like when you're doing these rich type tasks, you thin slice the pieces of it. You don't give them all the instructions of everything they have to do for the task. You just say, okay, I want you to do this. So I want you to extend that. I don't care where you jump in. There's lots of different places. Is anybody writing on it yet? No way. I knew this would happen. Anyhow, I want you to extend
Alex, yeah. Sorry, Katina, can you put the link into the chat if that's okay? Can you share it? So you need to click on the share button in the top right-hand corner, where it says the big blue share. Yep. And then just copy that link once it pops up for you. So bottom right.
People didn't get in it.
Correct. So copy, yep. And then put that into the chat. Let's see if that works.
I'm on it.
Alex, can you just repaste it again and do it to everyone in the group?
Did I not do that?
No.
What is wrong with me?
Nothing. You just sent it to me. Yeah. And I love it, but everyone wants it.
Okay, 1 sec. Oh, I did too, eh? Yeah. So how do I get to everybody?
So just click where it says in the chat to everyone, where it says to Katina, just put to everyone. Click on that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find out. I can't seem to find everyone.
Scroll right to the top. So click on the to part in the chat and scroll all the way to the top above your name.
Mark ours at the top. There's no option for everyone.
Okay. You know what? I'm just having, I can't.
If I put it back up, can you grab it from the?
Yep. You know what? Here, I'm going to take care of it. Now I can do it. Here we go. Okay.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So let me share my screen again, see what people, and then I'm just going to talk about so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I don't think lots of people are going to get a whole lot of time to play with this, but so if you extend that, list of fractions, right? You know, so what would we be? We'd be 4 4/9, 5 5/11, and so on. And I would get the kids to list it for 7 or 8 things, right? I don't know if somebody wants to scribble that down for us on the first slide or something. And so then my next, so like, you know, you're going to watch groups do this and see whether some groups even can see the pattern, right? There might be groups that don't see the patterns. And then my next instruction, and I might do this to groups individually. I might be doing this to the whole group, right? I might say, okay, can you now turn all those fractions into, I got to get the right word, improper fractions. So the first one, and let them go with that. And so like I did this the other day with a grade 11 college class, and they couldn't do this, right? I had groups that could not do that. And so that, you know, I'm going to go over and manage that group, and you'll get other groups that are quickly turning them into improper fractions. And so I got a few people doing that for me. So the first one's for, okay, so can someone do the improper fraction part for me? Maybe on page 2 or something. There we go. 4/3, 12/5, 24/7. So someone did the first 3. Awesome. So now my next instruction, and again, I might be doing this around the room, but so this is my idea of like not giving them anything other than the sequence to start. But now we're going to like develop this into like a nice rich mathematics. So think of those two numbers in the fraction as the 2 sides of a right triangle, the 2 legs, and figure out what the hypotenuse is. And do that for the sequence. And when you do it, put them in a table. So make the table like, so for set 1, we'd have 3 for the smallest side, 4 for the middle side, and 5 for the longest side. And make a table of values with this sequence. So yeah, good. So people are on this, right? 5, 12, 13. The next one's going to be, help me out, 24. So someone's doing a table. Thank you. Who is that? Much appreciated. So we have 3, 4, 5, 5, 12, 13. And what's the next one? 21, 24, 7, 24, 25, I think. And so now I got kids doing Pythagorean theorem. Now I got them organizing in a table. And so like we're going to do this for the first row is going to be set 1 or stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And then, so does anyone see it? Look at the columns. So this would be the next instruction. Look at the columns and like write in all the patterns, right? So the first one is the first difference is constant. The second one is the second difference is constant. And the third one, it's the third difference that's constant. And so like someone has even noticed that the third column is just 1 more than the second column. So it's just +1. So really for the first column, you could get them to come up with a formula for the stage number and what the value would be. So come up with a formula for the first linear relation, and then come up with a formula for the second one. It's a quadratic. So again, you could do that 2 ways, right? You could let them do Desmos and do a regression, or you could say, okay, back it up, go to stage 0. What would the y-intercept be? So then you know the C value, and do 2 equations and 2 unknowns and solve for the quadratic, solve for A and B. And you get this nice, all of a sudden now we're doing we're doing patterning, we're doing linear relations, and we're doing quadratic relations. And so that, I wonder if I can do this quickly. Maybe. So you could get them to come up with the equations, right? And what I would say next to them once they've generated these equations, so the equation for column 1, column 2, and column 3, and the equation for column 3 is just the equation for column 2 plus 1, right? Like someone's already indicated that. And so we have these 3 formulas. I don't know exactly what they are. I have it on the table, so I'll do that in a second. Oh, and then, so this is different than what I would have come up with, but that's totally cool. And so, you know, what would the numbers be for the 43rd stage, right? And use the formulas that you created to get the 43rd values, right? And verify that they do indeed satisfy Pythagorean's theorem, right? And so they would come up with their value, their formula for the first column, whatever it is. I think it's 2n plus 1, right? It's a linear relation. So the 43rd stage would be 2 times 43 plus 1. Come up with that value, come up with the value for the second column and the third column, and show that they satisfy Pythagorean's theorem. And then you could say, okay, but you know, these formulas, like these are what the A side length is, the B side length is, and the C side length is in Pythagorean's theorem. So verify it algebraically. So it's going to be 2n plus 1 squared plus whatever the B column is, right? So if you think of these columns as A, B, and C equals C squared, and there's a whole bunch of algebra to do there. Like they're going to be doing a binomial times a binomial plus a trinomial times a trinomial, collecting like terms and verifying that that actually equals the third column. So like, that's rich. Holy cow, how did we get to that? So I'm going to go back to sharing the slide deck for a second. And so this is me talking about, like, so once we get to all that, managing the flow of a task, like thin slicing the task. So here's what the table I want you to make. Here's what you did, right? And again, this is the A, show the pattern. So I would have given them room. Well, I wouldn't even have given them this. They would have been doing this on the whiteboard. Here's what the B column was. Here's what the formula was. And then the C column is just plus 1. And so you can verify that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And, oh, you're seeing that now, sorry. And so like, that's rich algebra right there. And then I was thinking about this task afterwards, and I was like, okay, what else typical of me, what else could I do with this, right? This is just the way I operate. And it was like, oh, why don't we have them, load time, why don't we have them in each of the triangles, figure out what the smallest angle and what the middle angle would be. Obviously, the biggest angle is 90, and make a table of values for the smallest angle and the middle angle. This is going to load sometime soon. Okay, maybe not. But you can imagine that, right? So like for the 3, 4, 5 triangle, I think the angles are 37 and 53. And then for the 5, 12, 13, it's 22 and 67, 16 and 73 for the next one, 12 and 77 for the next one. And if you think about this, you think about how these numbers are increasing. I don't know why that's not loading. How these numbers are increasing. Eventually, the smallest angle is going to get really, really close to 0. And the biggest angle is going to get really, really close to 90. If you look at how the pattern is changing, right? So like for example, for the 15th stage, the smallest length is 31, the middle length is 480, and the hypotenuse is 481. And so, I don't know what's going on with that, why that's not loading.
Do you want to just hit your return button again? Let's just try it one more time. I did see it flash up.
Let me just go. Yep, we'll try one more time.
There you go. Yep, it's up there now.
Yeah, so that's the other one though.
Oh, okay. Pardon me. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let me just try the next one. It might show up now. Oh.
There we go. Yay.
There we go. Okay, so there's me showing the smallest angles and the middle angles. And so then my next question is like, so what, tell me, how could we model that, right? If we do stage number and the angles and see what happens, right? Strikes me as it might be exponential. Don't think it is, but it's certainly getting closer and closer to zero, isn't it? It looks like there's an asymptote at the one end, or it's getting closer and closer to 90 for the other one. So like that, you know, there's some nice modeling that we could include in this same task. You know, I could easily see myself spending 2.5 hours on this with an advanced functions class, a grade 12 advanced functions class. I haven't yet, but I'm going to. Yeah. And so this is just a video of my class. I'm not going to show it because we're going to run out of time, but you get the feel for it. It's just a change. Like this is a task. This is a slide I always use, right? If you want to make the massive change, do it really differently. And if you drag down a bit, it'll still be really different. If you think you're going to change like a little bit every time, it gets really hard. I think you get sucked back into your old habits. So I'm a firm believer in like doing things completely differently. Everything's loading really slow. Sorry. And I've tried to answer questions as we go. 1957. I want to respect everyone's time. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. And yeah, we want to do the. Oh, I didn't change the survey session from someone else's slides. Sorry. Do you have the link to the survey by chance, Katina, that you could throw in the?
Sadly, it's a unique one for each session. So,
okay. I don't know why.
Perhaps people can put it out on Twitter.
Okay, sure. I'll throw it up on Twitter for anyone that came.
Yeah.
I can do that.
And thank you to those folks putting in their names. We're going to do a spin. All right.
You want to share your screen?
I sure will. I just want to make sure I get everybody. Joanne, I'm just going to ask you to resubmit. I need your email address as part of it, just as I do this. Okay. So here we go, friends. Can I take over your share screen, please?
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. No worries. All
Stop
right.
sharing. There we go.
All right. Can everybody hopefully see your name? So I just took it off the spreadsheet. Here we go. Uber Eats, World Teachers Day. Here we go. Michael is a winner.
Hey.
Mark Roxas is a winner. Ruth Dion is a winner. Heather is a winner.
Wow, lots of prizes tonight.
Well, you know, it's World Teachers Day.
Awesome.
Tracy is the winner.
Oh, the odds are getting good.
It is getting very good, right? Kristen is a winner.
Hey, happy birthday.
Awesome. Joanne, you're a winner as long as you put in your email address so I can contact you with send the information. And you know what? There's 2, 4, 6, 7. I'm going to make everybody left on this spinner a winner.
Yes.
Because
What I like to do.
World Teachers Day. So let's do it. So we can do that. This is no one tell. There we go. Happy World Teachers Day, everybody. So you'll be getting an email from a third-party source. So as long as your security friends do not put any sort of blocker, you should get it in your email. $20 gift card for Uber Eats. So next class that we have, you can actually eat while we have our learning sessions. Okay, so it might take a couple of days to get there, but World Teachers Day, Thanksgiving coming up. Alex, awesome sessions. Thank you so much for the last 3 weeks. How about we say we want to get them back for some more? Because this has been a really cool group to.
Yeah, I just heard if anyone that's hanging around, I just speaking with someone, and they were saying that maybe there'll be an avenue to do like more in-depth work. So I'm not sure if I'm committing to that or not, but if so, it'd be like a smaller group of people and we would meet over the course of time and like really dig into like doing stuff in your classroom and coming back and reporting and trying to like make it a little bit more personal and letting you go and try some things and then me try to help you through some of that stuff. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but there's a potential for it. So that might be super exciting, right? Like almost like lesson study. It would be very cool.
Yeah, so what Alex is talking about is our next sort of round of learning. And what we wanted to do is find the sessions that people are really enjoying, and we call it a master class where we go deeper, more of a PLC format, and then we meet. Alex shares some things, you go back and try that with your classrooms, you come back and you share. So it's everybody really sharing what is working on. So that's what we would love to see happen if Alex can commit the time and if we get an interested group. So please do stay tuned. And that's why we need those evaluations filled out to say, is this a session that you would like? I've been saying, yes, I think this is a great session for it. So.
You know what? I grabbed the slide deck from the original meeting that he sent out. I just grabbed a copy of it. So like I think someone edited it accidentally.
Oh, that's okay. It's all good. It's World Teachers Day. It's good.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
I will put the feedback link on Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter, I will copy it and put it on Twitter and just say, hey, anybody that was at my session, please fill out the survey.
All right. So with that, it's 8:03 in EST. We had people from Newfoundland to California. So just we want to make sure that everyone has that time. It is great. So wonderful to have you all here. Enjoy the rest of your evening or afternoon, depending on where you are. And please continue to come to the sessions. We love to have you here and we'll keep the learning going. So I'm just going to, if you wanted to listen to any of the other sessions, including Alex's previous two, the recordings are all posted. They're YouTube links that you can get to from this site. So with that, thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic evening.
Thanks for helping out, Katina.
Pleasure.
Bye, Joe.